I'll give you a better example. When you were a kid, you ever have your mom say this to you? Now we going in this damn store. Don't you ask me for a damn thing. You ask me for something, I'm going to knock you in the next week. I imagine that being Black, that's probably happened. And have you ever gotten your mom to get you something anyway? Congratulations, you're a natural salesperson.
Welcome to the Networking with Michelle podcast, the show dedicated to providing you with life strategies with a little bit of entrepreneur advice. Here we believe in the Jim Rohn quote, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hey, good people. Welcome back to the Networking with Michelle show. Today's special guest is Dave Anderson. He's a motivational speaker, author, business coach, and branding expert. His latest book, Pitch, Close, Upsell, Repeat, has ranked as an Amazon bestseller, and he's been mentored by Les Brown, and I'm excited to have him here. Dave, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Michelle, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So how did you get the name The Business Bully?
Well, I think what wound up happening is people began to understand that I don't live in a world where I have to be politically correct. I'm a big believer in calling my own shots. And my father used to tell me when I was a little boy, Dave, don't ask questions you don't want the answers to. So when someone asked me a question and I told them exactly what I thought about it, then, these sensitive, liberal, you're so mean and you're hurting my feelings. I'm like, there are no feelings in business. It's real binary, it's very, very clear, and so someone said, oh, well, I don't like Dave Anderson because he's a business bully. I said, trademark.
Ding, ding, ding.
Listen, I'm like Redman, I'll be that all the way to the bank. I'm not here for your opinions. The only people whose opinions that matter are either living in my house or are related to me, and sometimes not even theirs. So you can imagine where yours ranks on my meter. You understand what I mean? So I'll be a bully. I would rather bully you into actually stepping away from mediocrity than to love you, to love you down to failure. Like, I just don't understand the likelihood of people who think that that's going to work for them, just being hugged to death.
I love it. So I came across your Breakfast Club interview. You've been in radio since the age of 9. Or you started in radio at the age of 9. Now you have your own podcast, business, and everything. So what was like those initial beginnings? That's such a young age.
Well, the radio thing happened by accident. I grew up in the Philadelphia public school system. And as you well know, in America, when you are a young Black man in a public school system, they try to do things like hold you back or put labels on you. Even Les Brown was labeled educable mentally retarded. I remember sitting in classes and the teachers didn't do their answer keys, and so they would hand them to me, make me do them real fast and then give them back. But then they wouldn't skip me. They wouldn't let me take the test. They wouldn't let me do anything. I said, why am I doing this homework? Y'all know I know this. This is not challenging me. And then I got to slow down for everybody else. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do homework anymore. So my mother, being the educator that she was, she was trying to teach me that even though you're faster or smarter or stronger than other people, you still have rules to adhere by. And so long story short, she grounded me, took everything out of my room, including the books, because I'd have fun reading. And my brother, who is 7 years older than me, he had a job, several actually, and he took pity on me and he bought a radio and a phone and snuck them into my room unbeknownst to my mother. So I'm listening to the radio. Curly Neal from the Harlem Globetrotters is on the radio, and I called in using the phone I'm not supposed to be on by listening to the radio I wasn't supposed to have. And he said, you guys ought to hire that kid. So a couple days passed. They called my mother, said, and all I hear my mother do is pick up the phone and say, yes. No, I am Dave Anderson's mother. No, that can't be my son. You must have it mistaken. So after the swelling in my ass went down, that's how I started my career.
Wow. And how long were you in radio?
I was in radio 24, 25 years.
That's impressive.
I retired at 34.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I'll still do little things here and there. I'll do interviews, I'll do production for friends, things of that nature. But the idea of going into a multi-million-dollar conglomerate where they take your $1 million ideas and don't cut you in on it no longer appeals to me or my bank account.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, when you were on radio, did you see the demand of podcasting at that time?
Yes, I did. It's one of the reasons that I had to leave. Keep in mind that in 1998, a group approached me in Baltimore and said, "Hey, we're going to pay you six figures to come do this thing we're calling on-demand audio." And I'm like, "I don't know what that is, but if you're going to pay me this amount of money, I'm going to do it." And they said, "Well, Dave, there's these servers, and we're going to put your show up on these servers. You just give us the music, and we'll take care of all that. And we'll put it on the servers, and people are going to download these little things called MP3 players." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And so after a while, once I understood what it was, I was like an advocate for it. So I go to these radio conferences, and people by name, who I will not name, would say things like, "Oh, that's never going to work. We're going to focus on satellite." And we all saw what happened to satellite. When I was at my last gig, which was what you now know as iHeart, they used to tell me, "Oh, well, Dave, these gray areas, you can't have two masters." Now, ironically, when they hired me because my Twitter following was bigger than theirs. My Facebook following was bigger than theirs, and my ability to engage people on social media was better than theirs. So they made me the first director of social media. Now, they had social networking managers, but in the company, I was the first director of social media, black or white. And so you hired me because I took a podcast and was making money off of it. You hired me because I understood how to reach people. But yet and still, now you're mad that I'm doing that. And I said, this is a mistake. You're going to regret it in the long run. Now, if you look at iHeart, if you look at Cox, if you look at Cumulus, if you look at Radio One, all of their full-time employees are required to have some sort of podcast. So I was punished for something that, one, I helped create, and two, I was hired to bring in the first place. Because people always fear what they don't understand, and they do not respect innovation until it becomes the norm.
Why is that? Why do you have to stand alone and be ostracized when you're ahead of the curve?
You know what? I'm not going to lie to you, and I don't really say this publicly, but my wife will attest to this. It breaks my heart. Like, it literally, like, I want to cry, and I have cried about it. Like, why can't I just be like everybody else? Why can't I just do what everybody else does? And the truth of the matter is, my wife said, you're not supposed to. Like, you are where you are because of who you are, and you're not going to compromise that because they say it's so. And you have to be ostracized. Listen, everybody said up there, when Kanye said, "I want to change the face of fashion," everybody laughed until he did it. Lil Wayne sat up there I was in Nashville in 2004. This is right after Jay-Z retired, and he made that song, and he said, "I'm the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired." And I challenged him on it. He said, "Ain't nobody going to challenge me." If you're not willing to stand for yourself, why do you expect everybody else to? If you're not willing to be your own number one fan or advocate for what you know is right in the face of everybody telling you what's wrong, you don't deserve to live. If you're not willing to innovate when everybody else is doing the same old stuff, I mean, imagine if Rosa Parks or Dr. King did that. Imagine if Malcolm X did that. Imagine if Crispus Attucks never took that bullet. Like, we have to start realizing that anybody who has ever made history did not make history by doing what everybody else did. But we're conditioned to be afraid because we are in love with our punishment. We're in love with our captors. We are enamored with employment. We are bamboozled by benefits. And we are in love with the idea of maybe if I kiss enough ass, they'll give me a 3% raise and a promotion so I get a new title in a corner office.
Yeah, one of my past guests, she calls it the corporate seduction. Right. It's the benefits, it's the pay time off, the vacation, it's the bonuses, right? How those bonuses creep up every month or every quarter. And it's like, if I hold out a little bit longer, I can get this, or the benefits are going to roll over. But at the same time, not everyone is built for entrepreneurship.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this to you. You and I have never been in the same room, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever been to a concert?
Yes, of course.
Okay. When you go to a concert, you bought a ticket, they rip your ticket off or they'll scan it, and you go down and you watch the show. And here's what you might not notice. There are tens of thousands of people in the audience where you are and a handful of people on the stage. So you can either see the show or you can be the show. Not everybody's built to be the show, and that's okay. If you want to sit around and diminish your God-given greatness by saying, well, not everybody's meant to do that. You're absolutely right. Wise man once said, if you say you can or you say you can't, then either way, you're probably right. But there is, Jay-Z says this, there's a level of genius level talent in everybody, but not everybody nurtures it. Those are choices. You can live average if that's what you want, and if that makes you happy. But for me, nah, I want to be great
Are you walking in your greatness right now?
every single day.
How do you know?
Um, it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm wearing Nike flip-flops, a Batman hat, and a Business Bully t-shirt.
Okay.
I don't have to punch a clock. I do not ask a supervisor. I mean, okay, if you want to okay, my wife, maybe me, my supervisor, if that'll work for you. I call my own shots. Does that not mean that there are times when things aren't absolutely sweet? Yes. Is it feast or famine? Yes. I'm sick of people painting entrepreneurship out like it's some magical monolith that solves all your problems. No, it doesn't. But guess what? I don't have any vacation days stored up. I don't need to. And so for me, where I am right now at this level, I'm happy. Am I satisfied? No. And there's a big difference between the two. But yeah, I feel like I'm walking in my greatness. I mean, Google will tell you better than I will.
Okay. All right. So you have your new book, Pitch, Close, Upsell, Repeat. Walk us through that process, pitch, close, and upsell.
All right. So there are different ways to pitch people. There's the traditional way. Hey, buddy, want to buy a sandwich? There is the way of stating the pain first. If you look at a ShamWow commercial, you weren't thinking about a ShamWow when you buy it, but then you see it suck up all this liquid and stuff, and it's like, oh, I can see how that could be a problem. Or you ever burn your hand when pulling a thing out of an oven? No, I have a baking glove, but now I want an UV glove because it could withstand temperatures enough to grab lava. Like, I need that. So there are different types of pitches. Closing is literally saying, here's how to order. It's $19.99. Subconsciously, you believe that $19.99 sounds better than $20. And so that's how you get closed. Another way to close somebody is to say, you want it or not, or do you want the iPhone? Do you want the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 7 Plus? That way you remove the no's. The upsell is what happens when you go to the Apple store and you're there to get a pair of headphones with the lightning end on it, because you can't put in the regular headphones, and they say, oh, well, we have these Beats, and so you have different options there that you weren't thinking about. Or you go to the gas station, and right when you're just going to put $10 down on pump number one, you see they have some Reese's cups. That's an upsell. And the repeat part comes down to a process. If you go to Memphis, or if you go to Madagascar, and you go to McDonald's in either Memphis or Madagascar, the Big Mac is still 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, which means that there is a duplicatable, repeatable process. Any dumb salesperson can make a sale once a month, but can they make a sale every day with the same type of process? And so you need to create a process that's going to be repeatable and duplicatable so that even a monkey can do it.
Now, do you believe that you have to be a good salesperson? You have to be a salesperson to be a good entrepreneur?
Yes. I think that the idea of a salesperson is wrong. I'll give you some examples. Ever been on a date?
Yes.
Okay. Ever have somebody take you out to dinner?
Yes.
Okay. Ever had somebody rub your back?
Yes.
Congratulations, you sold.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'll give you a better example. When you were a kid, you ever have your mom say this to you? Now we going in this damn store. Don't you ask me for a damn thing. You ask me for something, I'm going to knock you in the next week. I imagine that being black, that's probably happened. And have you ever gotten your mom to get you something anyway?
Of course.
Congratulations, you've been you're a natural salesperson. Strippers are the best salespeople I know.
Oh yeah.
Hey, daddy, want a lap dance? Oh, we can go to Champagne Room, and nothing else happens in the Champagne. I've DJ strip clubs from Philly down to Vegas, and nothing happens in the Champagne Room. But it's the sales. It's the idea that something better is coming if you just do this. But we don't look at sales like that. We look at sales as some nut in a tweed jacket with leather patches selling you a lemon of a car, and then we get adverse to the idea of sales. But nothing moves without the sale. There is no marriage without a sale. There is no eating without a sale. there is no picking up a phone without a sale. And so once we embrace that part of who we are, we become better at it, as opposed to saying, oh, well, I'm not good at that. Well, you know what? I wasn't good at speaking until I started speaking. You see where that's gotten me.
Yeah. How did you start your speaking career?
Well, I was doing radio. The radio station got a call from an organization called the Hugh O'Brien Youth Foundation, and I was in the 8th grade, and they wanted me to speak to graduating seniors who were, in 12th grade on their way to college on how to stay motivated. That was my first speech in 1991, and I never looked back. I bombed that speech, by the way. I literally got stuck at the joke. But that was the first and last time that I ever wrote a speech. After that, I just knew what I had to talk about, and I haven't written a speech since, but that's how I got started.
Okay. Regarding the sales piece, I think, because we say everyone's a salesman, right? But obviously, I guess you're just going to sell what you want to sell, whether it's aspects of yourself, corporate entrepreneurship. But what's the mindset that's involved when it comes to being a good salesperson?
I believe it's like being in a rap battle. If you look at these battle rappers, they're all like, "Oh, you gonna get this work?" Like I tell people all the time, "Oh, you gonna get no." Because here's the thing, right? People come into, like, say you're dealing with like a car dealership, or you're a salesperson at Bed Bath and Beyond, or you're working to get 20% commission at some retail shop, and somebody comes in that store and they're looking for a dress. You have the dress that they want. They do like the dress, but they're scared about the price. At that point, you either say, "Okay, you don't like the price," or you explain to them the value in that thing, because we overspend for damn near everything we have, and at the end of the day, can you put a price on the way that this dress makes you feel, the way that it curves your behind, the way that it makes your breasts sit up perky, the way that you feel when you put this dress on versus those mom jeans you had on that I literally want to take a torch to and burn? You're not, like, if you're stuck on the price, you're not doing your job right. But people will pay for what they want and beg for what they need. Capitalize on that. A good salesperson understands that there's a certain mentality you have to have. There's no net with sales. And that's why most people want a salary position as opposed to a commission position, because most people don't want to work.
That's society's getting lazy in every lane.
Getting this country was built off of laziness. Ever heard of slavery?
I have.
Ever heard of the elevator, the escalator, Amazon, the motor car? All of these are American innovations that prove that our economy is based upon laziness and pure slovenly behavior.
So is there a balance between efficiency and laziness?
No. I feel like, you can be efficient, and that should leave you more time to do what it is that you're supposed to do. The greatest lesson I've gotten recently, I was sitting down with Eric Thomas's people maybe short of a year ago, and they went through my stuff with a fine-tooth comb, and they all began to laugh. And I'm sitting at the table like, why are y'all laughing at me? So E.T. is like, yo, C, you want to tell them why we laughing? And so CJ says, Dave, how who's doing these graphics? I'm like, well, I'm doing the graphics. Well, who's doing the website? Well, I'm doing the website. Well, who's writing the speeches? I'm writing the speeches. Who's editing the videos? I'm editing the videos. He was like, I'm like, why are you laughing? And they're like, what if you had another 12 hours every day where you could just focus on content? I was like, yo, that'd be amazing. I'd be out of here. And they're like, yeah, you're just afraid to delegate. And it hit me like a ton of bricks in my chest. I felt like I got kung fu kicked by a mule. And I think what winds up happening is we feel like that there's some magical, commendation from the president, the office of the president, that is going to come when you do everything yourself. And that's just not how the world works. Everybody can't do everything. You're either going to be a CEO or you're going to be an owner operator. And being an owner operator ain't no fun.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it comes in. I think efficiency doesn't make you lazy. Efficiency gives you more room to work and expand and build.
When you left radio, and I'm sure you had some side hustles going on during the time, but what are some of the myths of entrepreneurship that holds people back?
The myths of entrepreneurship, that you're going to fail, that everybody fails in their first 18 months, that no one will buy from you, all these different things. Now, some of these myths have truths in them. If you open up a restaurant, you're probably going to die in 12 months if you don't have a strategy. Most people won't buy from you who know you. People can, and this is not a sales thing. This is a psychology thing. People can only respect you at the level where they met you. If you ascend to something higher, then they can't see you there because it does not jive with their subconscious and conscious opinion of you. And so they can't ride with you once you get to a certain level, unless they've been riding with you the whole time. I'm not talking about hangers on. I'm talking about people who are actually supporting you, saying, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can get to the next level. I'm with you, whatever you need. Rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, go get them. And what winds up happening is people get stuck thinking that, oh, well, I put out this great product and service and nobody who knows me, all of my friends and family, they won't buy from me. None of my friends or family are clients. None. And I don't want them to be. If they come along with the right attitude, but my friends think, oh, well, we can just go out to lunch and I can just pick your brain. No. It costs a lot of money to pick this brain. I had to go sell water. I had to go sell water on the street, to get this mentality. I had to go sell gutters and home security systems and cable and weight loss products and all these things to get this mind where it is. You won't pay for that because I paid for it. And most people won't do that because they're your friends.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I hate it because I would like to think I hang out, I guess I'll just say degreed individuals. I'm not going to say educated, but degreed individuals. And it's like, just like you went through the process to go to school and become an expert, I went through the process to go to school or whatever, become an expert. But if I venture into entrepreneurship and you're straddling the fence, it's like you want to pick my brain, obviously for free, in the event to bypass some experiences and failures. And I'm like, whether I give you this insight or not, like those things are going to happen naturally and you have to invest in yourself. And then you even have to level up with that investment. And I tell people all the time, it's like, okay, that's cool if you buy $100 course or, you have a business coach for $500 a month, but eventually you're going to have to hire another business coach that maybe costs $1,500 a month. That's going to move you further along in the process. And like it's just hard to wrap their mind around leveling up. Like I'm going to invest a little bit, but I'm not going to invest any more than that, X amount of dollars.
Mediocrity is so sexy. People love being average because listen, once you get there, like, and I have this, and my wife unfortunately has the cumbersome burden of having to hear me vent, and I'll say things like, yo, you remember when we were struggling? Like, you remember when this was happening? You remember when that was happening? Like, at what point do I just get to that level and stop? You know what I'm saying? And then I realized, like, everything that I love, like Gilligan never got off the island until the movies, and I don't count the movies. Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap never leaped home. The Hulk never stopped helping people. Highlander kept saying there can be only one, but there was like 5 Highlander sequels. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's always another level. My favorite game when I was a kid, and I'm so happy about it. My brother bought us a Nintendo in 1987, so we had it 2 years after it came out, but we were still the only kids on the block with it because we were poor. Anyway and anyhow, I don't know if you remember this, but the original Super Mario Brothers had Mario, and he'd go and he'd like, he's pulling up, flowers and spitting fire and killing Koopa, and then he goes and the girl says, "I'm sorry, Mario, but the princess is in another castle." And I'm like, well, bitch, you could have told me that. And then you do this for like 9 levels. There was no card where you could save your progress, so you had to leave the Nintendo on all night, which shot up the electric bill, which my mother absolutely loved. But that's life. That is what it is to be an entrepreneur. You think that, okay, I'm doing this, and then you're ready to celebrate, and you're like, I'm on a new level. Hey, I'm on a new level. And then you find out that your princess or your goal or your next level or your ascension is someplace else. Your growth is someplace else. Listen, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a trash man. That's all I want to do. I watch a trash truck right now, and I'm waving at the people like I know them. Because I thought it was free, and you're on a truck, ain't nobody bothering you. I don't like to be bothered, And then, my parents got divorced. And my father worked for the government. He was in law enforcement. And I figured if my father, could be home more, then maybe my mom and dad would get back together. So I'm going to become, I'm going to become a U.S. attorney. I'm going to put all the bad guys away, and then my parents will get together. And then I realized, well, that ship just wasn't going to happen. That ship was never going to sail. And then I found radio. So I said, okay, this is what it is. I'm going to interview people, get free stuff, hang out with rappers, meet pretty girls. This is the life. And then I realized that the salespeople at the radio station were asking me to come close deals for them. I was coming up with ideas. Like, there's a reason why when you look at iHeart on an iPad, you have little bios and pictures and stuff like that. When you go and you see bracket challenges on a iHeart website, when you look at an iHeart Awards, or you look at the fact that everything is iHeart, sort of like the McDonald's model that I put in like 3 daggone books, you realize there's a reason for that, but there's no check for that. And as opposed to getting angry, because I am angry a little bit, but I can only be angry at the fact that I don't own it and I chose to work for hire. Do you understand that? So, I realized that, okay, this ain't it. And then I kept helping people and giving them advice, and I'm looking, and these people are baking harder than I am. And I'm like, okay, no. Something has to change. And so I went and I got some coaching, and I started making some moves. That's what it is. And so, I'll bet on me more than I'll bet on anybody else. But we work harder for other people than we ever will for ourselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it means to be conditioned by the American education system.
Speak on it.
Oh, trust me. I got a lot to say.
We might get to that later. I do have a question about that later. One thing you stated, you help small to medium-sized businesses 10x, right? And when I keep harping on this over and over again, just the importance of having systems in place. And we talked about delegating, but what are some of the other, I guess, overall strategies that you help your clients with?
You have to really build a strong infrastructure. You have to build a team, because you can have all the systems in the world, but if you don't have implementation and people you can trust, you have nothing. And I'm the type of person, and I learned this from Tom Joyner. I sat down at Tom Joyner's house when I was producing Ricky Smiley's show. And I said to Tom, and keep in mind, I'd already produced Wendy Williams. I'd already produced DJ Clue. Like, I'm a great producer. But I wanted to hear from somebody that I heard and said, I can be that guy, what his thoughts were on producing. And he said, you have to anticipate what it is that your talent needs before they know what it is that they need. And sometimes their needs are different from their wants. And you have to do what's in the best interest of the show. So if you don't have a number one or an executive producer in your business, somebody who can say, okay, I like what you're doing here, but we need to change some things up. If you don't have somebody who can give you an objective pair of eyeballs, there's a problem. I am a very devil may care kind of person. I'm like, I will jump off the cliff and build my wings on the way down, because look, I've already been homeless. I've already washed up in a gas station sink. It'll never get that bad ever again. I don't care if I got to sell blood, plasma, and sperm out here. It ain't never going to get that way again, because I got kids and I got a wife. And so I'm not afraid to go for it, because I was going for it when I had no choice. So I still operate like I have no choice. It's this or death, and if I didn't have the support of my wife, if I didn't have, a really good team around me, then I would be lost. So we talk about those things. Also, get rid of fear. Here's what I mean, and this is extremely important. I will sit down with a prospective client, and I audition clients. I don't take everybody. And I will sit down with a prospective client, and they keep going, Mr. Anderson, I feel. I'm like, excuse me, you what? I'm sorry, what is that word? Well, I feel. Who cares about what you feel? Oh, no, my feelings are important. And I'm like, no, they're not. And they'll say, why? And I'll say, well, have you ever been to McDonald's? And they'll say, yes. And I'll say, have you ever seen a snot-nosed, pimple-faced, pizza-faced kid who's giving you that Big Mac? And they'll say, yeah. I said, well, how did you feel about it? I didn't. I just gave them my money. Congratulations. Now you're a business person. This is a transactional thing. Your emotions need to be out of it. That's where prostitutes and strippers have most entrepreneurs beat, because they understand that this is about giving people the girlfriend experience, giving them a payoff, but not going home with them. Y'all are so in love with your businesses, you sit around and call them your children. And so I was challenged by a woman in Baltimore when I gave a talk. And she said, well, Mr. Anderson, my business is my baby. I said, okay, well, let's do an exercise, shall we? She says, we shall. I say, great. I said, imagine right now that I'm not Dave Anderson, that I'm a genie and you just found my lamp. You only get one wish like your Ray J, so I suggest you make it good. I'm going to tell you what your wish is. Your wish is to turn your business into a physical child, just like the other two kids you told me you had. She said, okay, cool. I said, great. I said, so now we have your two children and we have your business, who is now a physical child, like Geppetto turned Pinocchio into a real boy. So now we got your Pinocchio business child and your two biological children. One of them's got to die. I got a gun. Who do I shoot? And she says, well, you shoot the business all day. I said, that's why it's not your baby. Now, can we move forward? We get caught up in this thing, and we think this thing is supposed to be what we think it should be, but it may be something different. It may need to be tweaked. And I'm just so sorry. Just because you created the vision doesn't mean that you're supposed to be the one to see it through. That's where help comes in. Ray Kroc had help. Michael Eisner had help. Walt Disney had help. Steve Jobs had a whole lot of help. I mean, we could go into semantics as to how much Jobs actually invented. The same thing with Zuckerberg. The same thing with Bill Gates. But it doesn't matter who invented what or who did what. It's whose name is on the marquee. And as long as you own it, it's still your feather. So put the feather in your cap and call it macaroni, but get your feelings out of it.
But I think that goes back to what you said earlier about being mediocre and average and how it's sexy. Because I think right now entrepreneurship is sexy because it's like I own something. I have my own business. And then lots of times we get caught up in the titles. But I'm like, you caught up in the title, but you need to be caught up in the work and pushing forward. It's just, I think it's getting to a point where it's a byline. It's like, it's a sexy byline for an introduction.
Absolutely. That's why you have so many people out here, selling flat tummy teas, body magic. It works. 5 links posing against somebody else's Lamborghini or BMW and thinking that they're doing something. That's why Ty Lopez spends thousands upon thousands of dollars advertising on my YouTube, with a rented Lamborghini in an Airbnb house talking about this is me and I got 67 steps. So if we're going to call a thing, let's call a thing a thing. We love the idea of this. That's why rap videos were so big in the 90s with all these things, But if you go back and you listen to the lyrics, these folks were talking about Hennessy and Alizé. They weren't talking Cristal. They weren't talking Maybachs. But after a while, when the money starts rolling in and people, who suck at rap, who aren't even charting that well, have millions of dollars, what do you think the people who actually own the record companies, not the labels, but the record companies are making? See, the problem is y'all watch The Wizard of Oz and you follow the instructions. When you look at the end of The Wizard of Oz, it's the most powerful part of that whole movie. The wizard says, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. And y'all don't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain. Y'all don't look at Jimmy Iovine. Y'all don't look at Leo Cohen. You don't look at Clive Davis. You don't look at none of them folks. But you're ready every time something bad happens to black people to blame the rappers, not the people who distribute and put out the rap. Because you cut off one rapper's head, 5 more whack rappers show up, mumbling. And that's the same thing with your business. You got all these mumbling people with a Wix site and a dream posing by other people's Porsches, making them rich, but calling themselves a business owner. I'm sorry, Avon lady, I hate to pee in your Cheerios, but you're not.
So what is an entrepreneur? What is a business owner in your definition?
Okay, so an entrepreneur is someone who does not answer to anyone other than the consumer. An entrepreneur owns and is the master of his or her domain. Point blank and period. They don't have to conform. They can change with the wind. They can do exactly what they want to do when they want to do it. There are no guidelines. And that's what I think is the difference. Now, you can be a business owner and not be an entrepreneur. And that's okay. If you get a 1099, then congratulations, you're a business owner, but you're not an entrepreneur. We need to understand that. Not knocking it. I'm just stating facts.
One thing I loved about your podcast and even some of your blog posts, but one thing that stood out, you made a statement that said, what happens to Black people when they aren't financially and politically invested? And What do you think is more important in our community? Is it education or economic development? Just overall, what's your opinion when it comes to that?
Wow. Okay, here's my opinion. Black people are in love with the idea of marching across a stage with a cap and gown and say, look, mama, I made it. 95% of the American education system sucks donkey crotch. It serves absolutely no purpose in practical application. None whatsoever. Tell me exactly what Pythagoras' theorem is. I'll wait. How many stars are in Orion's belt? I'll wait. How many orders does a frog have, and how does that help you pay a bill? Unless you're going to be a doctor, some type of engineer, or a lawyer or something along those lines, the education system does not serve you any purpose, and there is no guarantee. First of all, a 17 to 18-year-old goes into college debt-free and comes out of college anywhere between $30,000 and $125,000 in debt for a 4 to 6 year program now, with no guarantee of employment. Over 300,000 people in this country who have MBAs are listing bartending as their main occupation. Somebody's getting hustled here. The school's already paid for, so where's all this money going? Why is it that every other developed nation in the world has free or very low-cost education, but we don't? Because it's a business, the same way that the gas stations are a business, and anytime something happens, that oil in Texas is causing all these problems, and that's why the gas company is so high. No, it's not. We don't even need fossil fuels. We can get by on solar and water, but we choose not to because that's not profitable. And we buy into those myths, and we sit up here and watch the news like it's not a reality show. So I think when it comes down to Black people empowering themselves, money talks and bullshit runs a marathon, because you can have a doctorate and still not have a say. I will give you some examples. And this is not me being political, but you asked the question, so expect the answer. The LGBTQ community cut a check to Barack Obama, so Barack Obama got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Made sure that civil unions and gay marriages became legal. He did what he's supposed to do. The Hispanic community, and we can try and dress it up and say, oh, it means all immigrants. It does not. The Hispanic community cut a check to Barack Obama and said, listen, we want some border control. We want a path to citizenship for our people who are here, who are working, who did not come here illegally, and their children. And guess what? They got it. You look at the fact that Black people are the only group in America that does not have representation on both sides of the aisle. To put that another way, when I was a much younger man, I was the heavyweight champion of the North Carolina Wrestling Alliance. Now, wrestling in and of itself is predetermined, but the injuries, trust me, are real. And what winds up happening is the suspension of disbelief that people have to have, where they think that if I'm going to rip somebody's head off, I'm going to travel down the road with this man. I'm going to get dressed in the same locker room with this man. I'm going to be in the same shower area as this man. And I'm going to wait until I walk down that ramp, get in that ring to pummel him? Are you kidding me? So you honestly think that because it's a left-wing policy, it's different than the right-wing policy on the same bird, you're smoking crack and you deserve everything that you get? The Democrats have done zero for Black people, and the Republicans won't. You want to know why? Because if you know somebody likes you, right, and they're going to like you no matter what you do to them, what's the incentive to be good to them? Exactly, because you're not going to lose them. I don't know that if I abuse my wife, she won't leave me. I pretty much believe that she will. So I try my best not to abuse my wife. But we take abuse because, well, mama was a Democrat and daddy was a Democrat. But then historically, Democrats have done crap to us. And Republicans, we don't hold them accountable. But if we have representation on both sides of the aisle and we stop worrying about this damn vote that doesn't matter and start worrying about voting with our wallets, listen, man, plastic is great. Plastic will sit up here and change lives. But you can't change lives, if you're not willing to cut the check. All that voting and marching and thumbing and hashtagging does nothing to change the condition of Black people in America. So yeah, education, not so much. This money and having political power, and let's forget about the national elections. How about you get a couple city council people in your pocket? You can't. You can deduct those, but I mean, you make donations and you start pushing an agenda. But we don't do that. How many Black super PACs do you know of?
I know of one for sure here in Houston. Well, I get on the local level.
But you see what I'm saying? But like nationally, there's not many. We got all these groups and fraternities and sororities and this, that, and the third. And we love all the tradition and politics, but we don't mobilize when it comes to the bread. So, that's my answer.
Do you think we don't mobilize because there is just too many organizations?
No, I think we don't mobilize because everybody wants to be the leader.
Right.
It's not a matter of too many organizations. I don't care how many organizations you have. Even if you're in 5 organizations, you still want to be the one in front of the movement, or you're apathetic and you don't want to do anything because you got a good job and you don't want to offend the good white folks at your good job, because they come to you with what does crunk mean, all that kind of dumb stuff.
Oh, being the token sometimes. And I guess we're seeing that. I mean, yesterday, I know a couple of NFL players lost their endorsements because, they took the knee on Sunday or previously. I don't know what it's going to take for us to move, just to push the movement forward.
Okay, let me try this a different way. I love Kaepernick. I love what he does for our community. Make no mistake. However, he's still a football player asking for a job. These players who lost their endorsements are still players getting endorsement from white companies to do a job. These players, if they were to combine their money, there is a players association, but we all know that's horseshit. If these players wanted to, they could literally start buying out the entire NFL. I'm sorry, name an NFL team that has a majority black owner. Okay, name me more than one NBA team that has a majority black owner.
Majority, I'm not for sure if they're majority. Of the owners I do know, I don't think they are.
I think Bob Johnson's the only one. But everybody laughed at Master P. Everybody laughed at Master P. Everybody laughed at Prince. Prince invented streaming. Prince invented, before Napster, before any of that, Prince said, you know what, I'm doing this on my own. I'm going to sell these records direct to consumer. And even people who didn't know any better because they're so in love with tradition laughed. We are in love with the idea of trying to change the mind of somebody, like somehow they're all the Grinch that stole white supremacy, and they're just going to magically, the hearts are going to grow 3 times that day. No, that's not going to work. And then we won't create Black Wall Street again because, they bombed it the first time. And then we don't want to have leaders, because Black Lives Matter does not have a leader because, they killed MLK and they killed Medgar Evers and they killed Malcolm X. Y'all are so spoiled, you're scared to die.
Mm.
So there's that.
David, I love it. How can people get the book, get in touch with you online, all that good stuff?
All right. Well, if people want to get the book, they can go to Amazon.com. The book is always there. When it comes to getting in touch with me, I'm real simple. Dave at businessbullyshow.com. You can always set up a free discovery call at bit.ly/bully call. I'm easy, man. I'm very easy to find. And if none of that sticks in, just Google the Business Bully. I'll show up.
I love it. Dave, once again, I just want to thank you for your time. The nuggets, one by one, being dropped over the past 40 minutes. Hey, everyone, make sure you check him out. Once again, businessbully.com. Remember, I believe in you, and a personal connection leads to an influential network. Thanks for networking with Michelle.